Okay, so welcome. This is Merative Reading Room, and inside Merative Reading Room, as you know, we have two segments. One is Buddy Reads, where we discuss how it's going to be, as how it is actually to be a reader, and we also have Buddy Reads, which you might have seen a couple of weeks ago, where we discussed the book Karna's Wife with three other participants. We're back again with Buddy Reads right now with three other wonderful participants, Priyanka, Ruchira, and Gunjan. The book this time is, of course, the brand new book by Stephanie Meyer called Midnight Sun. I'm going to be out of this discussion, but the three wonderful ladies are going to talk about this new book. And I just got backstage information that this book was actually not new. And Ruchira actually told us that it was actually launched on the website much earlier. So things like those and other inside stories and people who actually read the book, who actually have read the book, will be able to tell you more about it. So please join the conversation on that. I'll just brief you on Merative and Merative Reading Room a little bit before we actually start talking about the book. So Merative is a community about readers. It doesn't have to be book reading only. It can be reading about any topic. It can be reading about an article, and of course books, which are of course the biggest reading factors in our lives. So as a community, we try to engage with other book readers or other readers as a whole who love to read every day, who love to read little or love to read a lot. So it depends upon what kind. It doesn't really matter what kind of a reader you are. As long as you're a reader, you can be a part of Merative community. We've also recently started the live sessions, which is we call them the Merative Reading Rooms. And under the Merative Reading Rooms, we've got two different sessions. One of them is Buddy Reads, where we decide upon a certain book and all the participants read that book and then in the end start sharing their views. It can be a review, it can be what did they like about the book, their takeaways, anything. So we have three wonderful readers from Merative who are joining us today. Priyanka from Mumbai, Ruchira from Pune, and Gunjan from Mumbai. So Priyanka is going to be hosting this session. And to be honest, Priyanka is the one who first came on board regarding Midnight Sun. So without much ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Deep. I'm really glad to be a part of this because Twilight was a huge phase of my life. And despite the fact that, like Ruchira pointed out rightly, that the story had come out like a while back, and the whole book came out 12 years later. I think my inner teenage self is really excited right now, despite all the trolling and all the negativity that surrounds it. I still feel it's a smartly written book despite everything, and I'm super excited to be a part of this with two other people who have read this book. So yeah. The first, I think we have Ruchira, who is a dentist, and she does this wonderful artwork that is inspired from the books that she reads, and also she's like an avid reader. And I mean, I told her that I have mixed feelings about dentists, but turns out that she's like such a huge reader and everything, and we share so much in common. It's just amazing how someone can actually draw something right from the book that they've read. Uh, and we have Gunjan, who reads anything and everything, who confessed that if she doesn't have anything to read, she'll read something out of a shampoo bottle in the bathroom. I love that actually. I think all of us need some literature to read in the bathroom, no matter what it is. So I have these two ladies with me. Both of them are moms, and it's so awesome that you guys have actually read Midnight Sun, and it's not just me who's into this fandom. So welcome, you guys.
Thanks, Priyanka.
Thank you, Priyanka.
So
So
not only
what? Yeah.
not only Midnight Sun, we've read the entire series. I think I have read it. First book, which is my favorite to date, Twilight. I don't know how many times. I've lost count. What about you, Gunjan?
Well, I've read them multiple times. Even the first book is my favorite, so I've read the Twilight whole series and read it. I think I read it all the books. I think one more time, and the first book, I think 3-4 times. So yeah, I love the book. You know, it's like it's got there's a vampire, there's a werewolf, there's a love story happening. It's brilliant.
What could you ask for, right? What more could you ask for? There's a supernatural element, and romance always wins. Okay, sorry, I mean I believe in serious literature, but at the end of the day, romance still is my favorite genre.
It is so underrated. I really feel that romance is something that people really look down upon. That shouldn't be the case. Romance is a great literary genre to be explored, and this combined with supernatural, I think, has really worked about Twilight. That has worked so well, and it's globally. It's not just like one country or one place.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
She has I think the path she's done pathbreaking work in this. How many people have imitated her, and how many people have come up with stuff similar to hers? But I don't think anybody's got that kind of magic again.
Exactly, exactly. So, I'd like to start off by asking both of you that how do you define yourselves as readers? Like Ruchira said, you read a lot of literature, and Gunjan, as much as like you've shared with me that you like a lot of British literature, how would you say your reading habits are?
For me, my reading habits have evolved as I've grown, I feel, you know. So it started with picture books as a child, obviously. Then it went up. I went through the Enid Blyton, then the Mills Boone phase that we all go through. Then, as you grow up a bit, English classics. I think I started reading with English classics, a lot of them. Then, over a period of time, there was a phase when I read only Indian authors. That happened a few years back, where I wanted to feel connected to my roots, and I really felt that Indian authors have written excellent books in the past 10 years or so. And but I always my comfort is always classics and good romance, good clean romance. Okay, so that's how I've evolved over a period of time. Now I tend to read a lot of women-centric books. Also, I like to read a lot about history of different races. So roots, Exodus, and so it's basically a bag full of everything. Except I'm not very keen on nonfiction. I read nonfiction once in a while. I like biographies of a few good people, but other than that, it doesn't really interest me. Escapist.
I think all of us, even those who read nonfiction, are escapists in a way because you're trying to live someone else's story, no matter if it is real or not. So, what about you, Gunjan?
like Ruchira, you said, your reading evolves, but with me, the thing is that I started with Enid Blyton, stuff like that. But the books that stayed with me are the books that I read when I think I was in my teens. So it was like Gone with the Wind, Wuthering Heights, and uh, I know that Gone with the Wind has been criticized a lot recently for the way it portrays things. But from that point of time, I wanted to know the Afro American history. I wanted to know how the whole thing came about, and I'm still reading books about it. It got my interest there. Like Kushira said, Exodus was there, and it got me aware of the Jewish history. And then because I'm an art student, I was doing history, so the Second World War is again something that I love to read about. So a lot of like true, even if it's true stories, fiction, anything, I will read it. It has to be there. And there was a phase where I read a lot of mystery, thriller kind of books. So that was there. And yeah, during my school time also, I ended up reading a lot, the whole works of Munshi Premchand. I think that was the extent of all the Hindi reading that I did. and
Wow. I think
then
Premchand is really. I mean, like you just said, I just want to point out that we really need to bring Premchand back. Like, uh, I feel Hindi literature in itself is so it's slowly fading. I know it has its followers. I know there are people who are really into that kind of stories, but we really need to bring it back because end of the day, there's him, there's Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, and authors like those that we need to read more of to understand more.
We lost you somewhere, Priyanka, in between.
I'm so sorry. No, I was just saying that because Gunjan mentioned Premchand, I'm just like all of us need to read more of those again. We read that as children, probably in textbooks.
She's lost the connection again, I think.
I think she'll come back in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you guys?
So, but
So rain's going up in Mumbai.
the weather is playing up today. A little bit, it was raining and all.
It is, yeah.
I don't say. No, but like with Premchand, I had a little issues when I was reading the books at that point, and even now. I would, if I given a choice in writers, I would go for Manto or I know Kafi asked me he writes poems and all, but man, for that age and era, if you read some of his works, he was like ahead of his times in so many ways. Like I think it's called Aurat or something, and that is such a beautiful poem. The way he's written it, it is. If you say it, it is a very feminist poem. The way it's written is beautiful. Okay, the only problem is you need translations for the Urdu words. They are too heavy to understand for somebody who's never learned Urdu or anything. But it's brilliant. So, and nowadays I've read mixed fiction and non-fiction books.
Cool.
The only books I don't read is fiction books. They are not 50, so that's it.
All right. That's super. Actually, after this, I'm gonna take a recommendation from both of you. Actually, one I already got from Richard. I need some from you, Gunjan. Like, I need some good recommendations on the kind of stuff you've read. So I'll head on to the first question about the series. Both of you, all three of us have read the series multiple times ourselves. So I'd like to ask, what do you think sets Midnight Sun apart from the other books in the series? Apart from the fact, of course, that is from Edward's point of view. What else is in the book that sets it apart from the rest of them?
Frankly, you know what? When this book was released, now I didn't really see a point in it. Because I thought that everything that had to be said, and she has written books in which she has spoken of Edward's perspective and he's spoken of his feelings in so many of these books. So I really didn't see the point of it. Though once after reading it, it was nice. It was like trying to revisit and trying to revive a book, and I don't know why she released it now. Okay, if you were taking the story forward, I could still understand because now they are married and they have a baby and she's already changed into a vampire. So to me, it didn't make a lot of sense. And Edward's perspective is, he was pretty clear about it later on also. So I don't know, I'm not very impressed. And it was a little, for me, it was a little downer.
Okay.
So, like Ruchira said, even I felt in the beginning that what is going to be new. But then I realized that unless you see certain things from the other character's point of view, you just assume that you know everything and you have heard it from that character's point of view also. But it was basically Bella who spoke much more, during those 4 books also. And like for me, no spoilers, right? So. For me, but okay. So
I think a little bit is fine.
So for me, the biggest point was that how Edward saw things. Because Bella in the beginning of the books was very gushing. She was overwhelmed by his personality completely, and then here he gives his view. It was not as if he just fell for her at first sight. Like that is what the impression I got from the books when I read them the first time. So, and then how he's working on it, plus the fact that he always thought that he had to leave. Like for him, it was in the books. It came across once or twice, but in this book, when he's talking, it is very evident that it is how fate had a play in it, but it's not Edward's plan to change Bella or anything. In his head, he was clear that there was a time that he had to leave. So, and I think that is what he kept trying in the books also. So,
yeah. So, same thing. Yeah.
In between, I felt that the book was dragging. There was because it's a big, thick book. So I felt it, it could have been paced or maybe edited a little more tightly and, like, maybe the editing could have been more fine because it did drag. middle. There was a time of
It's overwritten. It's seriously overwritten. That is one thing that disappointed me as well. Yeah.
and it was like, I felt like telling Edward, stop being Hamlet, stop internalizing so much, stop doing this now, let's get on with stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. For me, one thing that you rightly pointed out is that Edward's inner war with himself was something that stood apart from it. And apart from that, there's one more thing, that Bella had a personality in this, which is sort of something that so I've been an out and out like Bella, anti-Bella, Andolan person, okay? And here I at least got to know why he fell for her the way he did. And the way, I mean, she was a nerd. Who knew? We did not know this in Twilight that she was a nerd. She liked Douglas Adams and she liked Star Wars. And something like this coming up here was very new to me, because for a second I even thought it must have been like a cover up for Sati Meyer, because Bella generally just happens to be the most hated character in the series.
Really, I thought his choice in music and literature and movies was there in the earlier books. Wasn't it there, Gunjan?
The choice in literature was there, music was also there, but movies and all they did
Music
not talk
is there.
about. So,
Yeah,
music was there because she said she likes Claire de Lune and all that, and she's reading Woodville Heights also. She's reading Sense and Sensibility also.
yeah.
So that was there, but the whole I think the whole one episode that happens inside her house, where she's eating, talking, having a conversation, that was not there in the earlier book. She,
Yeah.
she
It was
wrote a
more
lot, not
her
in
being
this.
involved in the whole pop culture thing. Like, I mean, Douglas Adams is pop culture, right? So, her being a part of that, or even something like a Total Law, which is hardcore, like fantasy fiction. I was genuinely surprised that she was into that kind of stuff, because in Twilight, her personality did not come across the way it did in Mystery.
But I could never hate her because she liked Woodland Heights. Because I like classic literature, so that was always a point for her in my eyes. And see, in the movie, they try to show her as a very good-looking character, or like very pretty. But in the book, she doesn't consider herself as very alluring or very good-looking. So that's another point in her favor from me, because I feel that anybody who's too conscious about what they are, and it doesn't come across as a very endearing character, especially in a book. Like Rosalie is one of those people, right?
Yeah. I liked Rosalie here. I did not, the dislike that I had for her throughout the series until taking them. I actually stopped disliking her. It was a major thing for me, because I mean, it's Rosalie, right? Like, you naturally going to have a little bit of complex, but here getting inside her head is something fresh for me as well.
It is
See,
nice.
I think
Yes, sorry, carry on.
sorry. So I was saying, I think when we say that people hate the characters, it has also to do with the fact that the movies were equally popular as the books. So a lot of people are influenced by the characters as portrayed in the movies. So it can be that they do not like dislike Bella per se, but they dislike Kristen Stewart per se. Or Robert Pattinson or anybody else. So it has got to do with that also. And I think in the earlier books, Bella was, like I said, she was always talking about how she perceived Edward, what she thought Edward was thinking, and how Edward was behaving.
Yeah.
Here it is the man himself telling you what he was thinking, what he saw, how he worked it out. So those parts, hearing those were good. But like I said, some parts need to be edited.
Yeah.
She could easily lose a couple of 100 pages or something like that.
Easily, I think an entire like chapters, like Carlisle was one chapter that I was like, listen, I've read this so many times. I know everything. Why are you overdoing this? So I get you, man. So apart from that, how did Edward's perspective, liven other characters? Like, how did it help you understand the overall plot better?
So I liked Alice's point of view on a lot of things. Like I really like Alice as a character. She's one of my favorite characters of the entire series. So the way she predicts that we already know that in the first Twilight book also we know that she's going to be Bella's friend. She predicts that. She says that to Edward. So a little bit more about her, and that was a lot of fun for me. And I was very surprised about Jessica actually, which I didn't expect. So I thought she was a good friend to Bella. That was one character, a side character, which turned out to be very different. So, it gives you a real life perspective into what you think of your friends as, and when you see it from somebody else's point of view, how different
Exactly.
they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things. And a little disturbing was the midnight stalking that he used to do, and used to go and check out on a house.
Do you remember that line where he says, "I brought oil with me to like just for the creaky windows," and then I slipped in and I was like, "Why? Why are you doing this?"
So that was a little strange. But no, I liked reading about Alice and surprisingly, Jessica. It was nice to know a little about how Emmett's head works, how Rosalie's brain works, how what his actual relation with Carline and Esme were. So that was also nice to know. And it was nice to know a little more about Bella's father from Edward's point of view, because he's a very enduring person. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I
Did you
liked.
also notice that Edward could not completely hear Sally's thoughts? They were a blur.
That's been there in earlier books also. They've spoken about that. It's nothing new.
Yeah, but like it was, I know, I mean, you knew that Bella gets it from him, but here it was like, you're actually reading Edward, what Edward's hearing. So when he says murky thoughts and everything, I was like, okay, this is weird because for a second I was like, does Charlie have superpowers that we don't know about?
So you thought that he's dumb or he's a little slow, but he wasn't. That's what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
realize.
yeah.
He tells me about this. I don't remember which book, but he does talk about. So there was, as far as Charlie was concerned, there was nothing new, except a few insights which we didn't see earlier.
Gunjan, yeah.
So, yeah, so like you guys were talking about Charlie, and like if he had superpowers, and like Edward could not read him so accurately. I, for a moment, felt that when we come to the part where her mother visits Bella in the hospital, and Edward is like, she's like, her emotions are so loud that you can hear her like 4 blocks away or something like that. And I felt maybe because there's a difference in the characters also. Bella's mom has always, is very open, is very forthcoming about her feelings. Whereas on the other hand, both Charlie and Bella are shown to be like introverts. They are not very forthcoming with their feelings. They like to keep them, not talk about them and stuff like that. So I felt that maybe that was also a pointer for how things are with them. And I love the way Emmett was done. Like, I always feel he was not given good enough space over there, like, because Alice has always got her due in all the books. So like, Ruchira, I also have always loved Alice, but I love the way that Emmett was shown, how supportive he was, how he was ready to understand things. And I love the way Edward was reading all the boys in the school, their minds and how they thought, and his reaction to Jacob. I love that too. So I was waiting for that. I was like, what does he say? And when we come to that part, we'll discuss that also. So, but I did love his reaction to Jacob also. So those were some of the good things that were there.
Yeah. So there's, I mean, we as people who've read and gone through that entire phase of Twilight and everything, probably until Midnight Sun came, I was away from the series for a long time because I read it when I was in my teens, and I read it through college, and I read it when I was like up all night and everything. And after a while, I think the book began to get a lot of hate. There are problematic things that, a lot of points in the book there are, like the creepy factor is one of them. What is your take on the hate that the book still gets? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
What exactly are you talking about here? Because they speak of so many things over here.
No,
People
just
can.
the series as a whole, where they call like Edward is generally like called effeminate, or Jacob is told as just a buff guy. There's a parody, in fact, of the Twilight movies, and for a fact that the movies happen to have ruined a lot of the book. but it still gets a lot of hate. Like Midnight Sun, when I spoke to a lot of my friends, they were apprehensive to pick it up because they had a problem with Twilight as a series.
I think
So
more towards the movie and the characters that they portrayed. Like, I did not like Rob Pat a lot in that role. I did not like Kirsten Stewart in the role. And it was a big disappointment for me because I thought the movie would be a really good picturization of the book, but most of the times they're not. Except probably Harry Potter. I think hardly anybody ever got it right. Yeah.
yeah, no.
In
I
the book,
think one more would be Devil Wears Prada, but in Twilight's case, you're absolutely right. They really struggled, but it wasn't.
yeah, because if you read the book, even if you read his thoughts over here, he's not effeminate. And personally, I feel a man being effeminate is not a bad thing. If you are able to be in touch with your feminine side, I think women appreciate you far more. So I don't consider that as and anybody who thinks of somebody who as effeminate, I feel sorry for them. So his being effeminate is definitely not a bad thing. And Jacob had to be buff here because he's supposed to be a werewolf for God's sake, right? They have that innate strength and they have to fight somebody who's immortal and they have to fight somebody whose skin is made of, diamond-like structures. So he has to be buff. They have to show him as strong. There's no two ways about it. In fact, I think they specifically chose him because he was a martial arts specialist or for this particular role. So, people will find something negative to say about everything. So you don't want to read it. I understand your point of view too. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it was a teen sensation. And not only a teen sensation, I know a lot of non-teens who've read it multiple times too. So it's definitely, if you put the book aside and if you put the movie aside and you see the characters in the book, now in this book, when you hear Edward's thoughts, in spite of being around 80 years old, as what he says, his thoughts and ideas are very, very enlightening and very modern, right? He respects women. And even though at their time, women were more as objects of, they were objectified, let's say, just say that they were objectified, but he doesn't view them like that. He views them as individuals and he views them as somebody who has their own choices. And he appreciates Bella for her smartness. He's not shallow. So I really like Edward's character, especially in the book, not in the movie per se, but in the book. So any characterization that has been done in the movie doesn't hold good with the book.
Yeah. No, he doesn't swear in front of her, or there's like the whole thing where he wants to curtsy and court her in the actual terms. So there's that.
When he wants to open old-fashioned chivalry, where is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Feminists would go in an uproar if we say this, but there has to be it doesn't hurt anybody, right? Chivalry didn't hurt anyone.
Absolutely. Gunjan, what about you? What do you think about him?
See, I think a lot of people said that it was very creepy, the age gap, and the younger girl, and also, but that's literature, and that's where you have the right to express whatever you want. So we do have Lolita, and it's considered a classic, and people do read it, right? Knowing what the subject is. And again, if you go into the history of a lot of cultures, you'll find very old men marrying young women. It's been the norm in a lot of countries. I'm not saying it's a right thing, but it's not like as if it's not ever happened and people are unaware about it. Secondly, I think, if they say that it's just teenage junk, maybe you are right. It may not have the exemplary standard of writing that some people expect, but it's a good read. It's a nice, comforting read. Like if you want to just go have see, you don't always read with the expectation that the book will, help you evolve intellectually or, will give you some deep insight. Sometimes you read for the pleasure of just reading so that, you have a nice, comfortable read. It makes you feel good. There are some books like you have feel good movies. There are some books that are just to make you feel good, feel better about yourself. So this book does that for me. It makes me just feel nice. It brings a smile to my face because, things that are happening, the teenage romance, and as you grow older, sometimes you do want to relive those feelings. You always don't want to be very, very wise, and I know people think that being wise is a great thing, but sometimes being wise is also a burden. So sometimes you want to feel those foolish feelings again, relive those. So for me, that also works. And as far as the casting of the movie goes, I have only one thing to say. Thank God they got Taylor Lautner. He was like the hottest thing ever. I loved it. I was very happy.
I
I
second
have
you.
no complaints.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for, so,
I think
and as far as
perfect. I thought they got all the other characters perfectly except Bella and Edward, you know.
Yeah. They overdid it. Edward and Bella was so. I don't know. Kristen Stewart underplayed it until a point that, like I said, I don't like Bella. I've tried my best to adapt, like get myself to at least be okay with her. I just can't because already book in the books, Bella is a mellow person. She's the calmer side to her mother's, like her harebrained mother, as she calls her. She's like Bella's the calmer version of that. In the movie, Kristen Stewart just she was so badly miscast. I have major issues with her after that. And then of course then I watched Charlie's Angels and her other movies over a period of time which were fine. But her as Bella was
yeah, no. So recently, I was reading something where they said that Kristen Stewart actually was cast before Robert Pattinson, and she actually got Robert Pattinson cast. You know, so like when the director was with the casting director, whoever was with her, they were watching the the screen test that they gave, and she immediately said that Robert Pattinson is the only choice. There's no like that's what Kristen Stewart said, that she got Robert Pattinson cast into the series. And as far as if people call him a pretty boy, what's wrong in being pretty? I thought people liked pretty faces. There's no problem with that. And Edward was supposed to be, like all like ungodly attractive or unimaginably attractive. So it's a little difficult to imagine something which was already defining as unimaginable. So it's okay, but uh, if I had to like really have a beef against a book which was very popular, it would be 50 Shades of Grey, not Twilight. Definitely not Twilight.
majorly problematic, but
Right.
it's okay. I don't know why Twilight had so much of flag when 50 Shades is right there in their faces.
Twilight got so much flag, but it got copied so much too, right? Like Shadowhunters and all these series which have come after it have all been inspired by this book, as far
Yeah,
as I
yeah.
can make.
No, absolutely. I think there was
And
this
Edward
whole
is
thing.
a pretty boy, right? He's 17 years
Yeah,
old. He's stuck at
yeah,
17, honestly. So he
yeah.
has to be a boy. He can't be all macho and manly. Like that would be so weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're right. I think Taylor Lautner was the best thing in the movies, but otherwise in the book in Midnight Sun, I love how I could get into other people's heads, like which also brings me to the next question that which character, when you got to know them better in through Midnight Sun, which character did you love the most?
That's a tough call. You know, I've always admired Carlyle a lot because I feel that that kind of compassion, that kind of control, and with through Edward, you see a lot more into his head, and he's very non-judgmental. So that is something that I really like about him. I always knew that, but I don't think he got the kind of footage that he should have got in the series. Because a lot of what Edward is like, a lot of what Alice is like, and how Jasper, Emmett, and Rosalie, all of them turn out, he has a major influence of them on them. He changes the entire way of life. And over here, you get a few glimpses on what his mind really works as. It was really nice. I really like that aspect of Carlyle. Esme, not. I mean, we didn't get a lot of thoughts about what she is like, but this was one character who I really learned more about.
Okay, so I fell in love with Emmett, so I could not like I like him. I like the fact that he's ready to fight for his family. He's there. He's never backing off a fight and all that. So that is what I liked about him. and I really enjoyed that part of the book. I really, I mean, I have got a fondness for Emmett. I like it. I liked him better in this book specifically.
I think I'd have to go with Carlyle, and Emmett is a surprising choice actually. And come to think of it, yeah, I think Emmett was really lovable. And through the Twilight books, we couldn't find out as much about him, but here we could do a lot more. And yeah, I like that. But Carlyle overall, even in Twilight, and now even more, I think I really want to know Carlyle's side as well, and how his journey was too. And he's so fatherly, like he's so paternal in, like his instinct is so strong that overpowered everything else for him. Like even being a vampire didn't matter as much to him as much as helping through whatever he did was.
He gave up being a part of the vampire royalty to be
Yeah.
what he wanted to do. So that's a very big sacrifice. I mean, he could have been the top of their chain, but he decided to help humans. I mean, they are born predators, and to
Yeah.
change your entire nature and to influence others to do that,
Yeah.
it's a major lesson, right?
Yeah.
And he's a doctor added to it, and he uses his powers to heal other people. So that's an amazing thing here that she's
Yeah.
put up in. That's what I personally felt. And Emmett's he's like a lovable bear in this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really fun because even he is very non-judgmental. If you see, he doesn't care about what other people think. He is ready to help his brother. He
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
whether he agrees with his thought process or not, irrespective of that, he's there for him.
Yeah.
We all want
I,
something, right, in our lives. That is whatever I
he's the older brother all of us wish for, I guess.
so whether you agree with me or not, you can bicker with me later, but you have to be there for me when I need you.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite the fact that Rosalie was always hell-bent against Bella being a part of the whole family, Emmett really stood up for Edward, which was kind of surprising and cute.
See, Rosalie had her own reasons. And if you think of it from her point of view, she would give up immortality and she would give up everything that she had just to be able to have a baby. For her, that was more important than anything else. And she felt that Bella was giving up her choice by doing that. Eventually, it turns out for the better, but I see where she comes from too. I feel she was dealt a very bad hand.
Yeah. So, what it was supposed to release in August and everything, and it's been a while. Then all of us probably would have read the entire series in its entirety, right from Twilight to Breaking Dawn. What prompted you to like just the day it released and why I need my hands on this? Like I did because well deep down inside I was like no, I need to know Edward's perspective no matter what happens. So for me, that was a major thing. Like I really wanted to know why Edward even liked Bella. So what was it for you? Why did you pick it up the time it released?
For me,
So I had read. Sorry, so I had read Twilight with a couple of friends sometime back, just because, and then we were talking that Midnight Sun would release. So I just thought that, I wanted to see like how I was more interested in how she wrote the book, what new can she bring to a book, because I was like, she's already told the story. So what more is there to it? How will it change? So that is when I learned that the story is not told unless you have not read a story unless you have read it from everybody's perspective. So that was my reason. I just wanted to see how what new does she bring to the table. So I was interested in that, and then I also wanted to see if there are any revelations that I had missed in the previous readings of my book. I'm always curious that was there a subtext that I missed? Was there an undercurrent that I overlooked? So that also pushed me into reading the book.
For me, Gunjan motivated me to read the book. I knew it was out, and I probably wouldn't have read it because I had read a part of it when it had leaked out a few years back. So honestly, I was not very interested, but it was an easy read when I picked it up, and I finished it in no time at all. So
Yeah.
you know what? That's what you want sometimes. You just want an easy read. You want some, and it's like visiting an old friend. So it was
Yeah.
fun. So it was fun to go through it all over again. It was fun to relive those moments. And I loved that Jacksonville scene when he, chases after her and he rescues her. And so it was
The way
nice.
he finds her. So, I mean, I was always surprised how in Portland could he find her when all those guys were just chasing her and all of that was typical Bollywood style thing was happening where the hero saves the day. And I was always curious about how he found her, and he found her through people's thoughts, and that was like, wow.
It was also funny, that kind of humor was missing in the earlier books because the way the waitress, the way he
Yeah.
reads her thoughts and the way, I mean, it makes you realize how shallow people can be. Maybe
Yeah.
so I catch myself now thinking, and what if somebody could hear?
Oh God, that would be scary. What about you, Gunjan?
No, I like. Always wanted to know, was Edward aware of how people reacted to him,
Mm.
and how did he take it? Because in the book, so in one of the scenes, it gave the feeling that he just like he was so egoistic that he just took it off as okay, they are admiring me, that's fine, and I'm to be admired. But then when I realized that he was upset by how shallow people are, or he was not very happy with the way they were thinking about him, then I felt, yeah, okay, that made his character a little more likable to me.
Yeah.
Because till now, uh, why is it giving me this? Sorry, one second. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like when he spoke, like for me throughout the books, the only part where I was like really team Edward, or I was like, oh, okay, I like this Edward character, was when he said those lines. He said that if ever Bella wanted him to go leave, he would leave for her, or if she chose Jacob, he would accept that and let her be happy with Jacob. So
Mm.
I felt like that was like it truly showed how much he actually loved Bella. So that
Mm.
those lines were what made his character likable to me.
Yeah.
But over here, when I saw how he reacted to people's appreciation of him, or like his looks or everything, I felt
Mm.
a little that he was more likable. So it did make the character look more likable for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that, of course, we've seen Midnight Sun through Edward's perspective, and I don't know if I still should be asking this after all these years, but Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Let's say the team Twilight series. It's always going to be Team Edward from now. Okay? Jacob is the nice guy. Jacob's very sweet. He's everything, but it's always Team Edward. I'll always go for the classic.
I'm for Team Jacob because for me it's like his heartache and being there for Bella and knowing that she does not return his feelings, and I know he acts out very irresponsibly sometimes, but then you have to get it, he's just a 16 17-year-old guy, and not making excuses for him, but with those things. And also I think I always have a soft spot for the underdog, so I always felt really bad that he's suffering. And but
Yeah.
the best thing is that he never left her. He always was there to support her. It was never like, okay, you don't return my feeling, let me just get up and go
Mm.
off. He was
Mm.
always there throughout for her.
Yeah.
Though I wished it did not have the ending where he imprinted on her daughter. That was not my favorite part, but let's
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah. 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 No, I think that's nobody's favorite part where suddenly Renesmee is in the world and it's like, ooh, it was the daughter? No. But no, you're right. I mean, it's and it makes it gross in the movies. That scene was really gross in the movies. Do you guys agree?
I actually did not want to see Breaking Dawn, It was that bad for me. And seeing it was as disappointing as. I mean, I like the fight and the war and everything that they have and all the preparations for it, but Renesmee and Jacob, that was very disappointing.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
Very.
Even the last book, I feel it dragged on quite a bit. That's one book which I've not revisited. I've read all the other books quite a few times, but not Breaking Dawn. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Yes, you get a lot of insight about the other vampires, and you learn about the Valkyrie, and you learn a lot. You get a lot of background in that, definitely. But that's not my favorite part with Jacob and Renesmee. I don't think anybody likes that. It's like justifying why he hung on. You know,
Yeah.
how can anybody be so good, and how can anybody be so unselfish? So I think they just tried to justify that the reason why I always felt attracted to you was because of Renesmee.
Yeah.
So I think it was like you were very nice throughout the book. You did everything perfectly, so we can't leave you without a reward. So as your reward, this daughter thing comes into play, and you get a Renesmee, and it's all done. Unrequited love has its own charm, It's like that is why all those stories where the lovers could not meet are so famous, because it pulls at your heartstrings in a different way. And I am pretty sure everybody in the world like mostly everybody in the world can understand, like, you have a crush on somebody or you love somebody and you don't, that the person does not return the love. Everybody has gone through that phases as a teenager at any stage. So that charm is also there. Why the daughter? Like literally, I was like, why?
No, I think that's a common feeling all of us have. Which brings me to we've already spoken about Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart being miscast. So who do you think would have done a better job? Do you have any alternate cast members in mind who would have done a better job?
Emma Watson, I think she could have been really good.
Interesting.
I feel, I think she's an excellent actor in any case.
Yeah. And what about Edward?
Maybe an older Robert.
He's Batman now, so let's just.
He's grown into it.
Yeah.
His expressions were kind of weird. He's creepy in the movie, not in the book.
Yeah.
If you know. Yeah. So the way he makes his face and the way he shows his fangs, it's really creepy. I mean, I didn't like him at all in that. I can't think of anybody else as of now. But yeah, Emma Watson for Bella would have been nice. At least she would have had some personality.
Thank you. What about you, Gunjan? What do you think? Who would have done a better job?
I don't know if I could find a replacement for Robert Pattinson, but I think, like Ruchira said, half the time in the movies he looked creepy, and the other half he looked constipated. So I don't know what was actually happening there with it, but like I like Anne Hathaway a lot, but I think she would be too old or look a little older to play Bella. But I like her, and otherwise, like Ruchira, I think in that age group or with that, I would go with Emma Watson. But she has a lot of spunk to play up, like Bella is a little subdued and all, but she shows her spunk a little later. So
Yeah.
and that also Kristen Stewart could not manage. That woman was, I think. Was being just like, let me just walk through these things. It's like a walk in the park with no expressions, nothing. I'm walking, and everything is happening.
Yeah. I think Emma Watson. My vote would go to Emma Watson. If not, I think so. I read somewhere that Anna Kendrick who plays Jessica, she'd auditioned for Bella, and I think she would have also done a fairly nicer job if, like, better than Kristen Stewart for sure. I wouldn't change Robert Pattinson. I mean, I think the director was at fault here to make him creepier than he is in the book. But even I wouldn't change Edward much.
But Anna Kendrick would have been too perfect for Bella, You needed somebody who's a little clumsy, who's nerdy. No. And you need to be a really good actor for that.
Yeah, I completely second. Yeah.
either you sleepwalk through it or you need to be really good.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, if Kristen Stewart sleepwalked, then all of us suffered.
No, but you know what? I was just thinking about this. I never thought of it from this point of view that no matter who Bella is, I think every girl is going to hate her. Because Edward is so perfect. It's very difficult to like any Bella, whoever you cast.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I feel. And she's got
yeah.
like two hot guys chasing after her. She's got Jacob, she's got Edward, and every other boy in school, from what we know now, really liked her. So I
Yeah.
don't think, no matter who's Bella, I think nobody's going to like her in any case.
Oh,
Yeah,
I only
fair,
have to
fair
say
point.
that Taylor Lautner looking at her, man, it was not very likable at all. So instead of looking at her, if he had looked straight out of this camera at me, I would have preferred that. But okay, we live with what we have.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
have you seen that meme where it is saying that vampire? It has got Robert Pattinson in his Batman costume, and it says vampires actually turn into bats or something
That
like that.
I saw that. Yeah, it was hilarious. So, I mean, I think the movies needed to be better for sure. But I mean, at the same time, we can't do much because, well, Hollywood works the way it does, and it ruins most of the books. And by the way, she's coming out with two more books. Stephanie Meyer's coming out with two more books in this series. She's not sure what exactly the subject's gonna be. It won't be a retelling through Edward's eyes of the other books, but they're gonna be the two books in the series within the same story. What do you guys think about that?
I think I think you should just give up this series now. I think it's done. If you want to move ahead, maybe their life in the future, or you could take a sideline and talk about one of the other characters and how their life moves on. But I'm not very keen on learning about what happens to Renesmee as such.
Yeah, yeah.
They only needed to find out if she's immortal or not because they were worried about that. But how will they take it forward? You tell me. They'll probably talk more about how the Voltura interferes with her upbringing, or there'll be more hassles with them in the future. I really don't see this going ahead. It's like ruining a classic. Leave it. Yes, that's what I feel.
I think Rowling did that, right, with the cursed child and all of that.
Oh man, that was bad.
It was so bad. I'm so upset. And I actually pre-ordered that book, and it's quite an expensive book here, and so disappointing.
Yeah,
So I think we need to leave a good thing at a certain point
yeah.
and move on. If she writes a new story, if she writes something interesting, that would be fun. If she could write a prequel too, that would be interesting.
Yeah. I would like
That's what
to
I was
read
going to say.
Carlyle's story though.
Carlisle's stories, or yeah, that's what I meant. If they go, she writes a prequel dating before pre-Bella, and like in the in a different era, like in the 18th or 18th century or something, when they were there, that would be good to read because 2 points, like how did they survive then? Because they had to, like in the modern world, it is more easier for them to blend in because they have a lot of stuff to help them. But in those times, how did they blend in? How did they survive? Or like a little more of Rosalie's story, like what, like we know what happened, but in a little more detail, like how she lived, how she cared, those things. And what I would really love to know is that what was Alice's background? I have always been so curious. Like those 4 or 5 lines do not do justice to that. So even Alice's background and also a prequels would be good. Renesmee, what happens to her? Seriously, even if it gets Jacob back in the story, I don't care. So no, prequels are welcome, not the future. Thank you.
Alice was in a mental asylum, right? She doesn't remember anything about her past, so that's an open end.
They can he gave her hints. So like if they show that Alice tried to find out about her past. Like in one of the books, when they are on that break, they did mention that Alice tries to find back out about her past, and one where she mentions it. So Maybe something like that, or even if it was a fan fiction, that line can be explored. Do something like that. Don't write about the like what they're doing at present. Nobody cares. No, I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't think nobody cares what happens to Renesmee, which is unfortunate because the entire series culminated into like, oh my God, Bella gets a happily ever after, which actually nobody cares about now. So, would you recommend this book to anyone if someone were to say that, hey, I want to start reading Twilight? Would you say, okay, read Midnight Sun too? Like, I mean, see, because Brie Tanner was skippable. I found Brie Tanner utterly like a waste. Like, why? I didn't want to know what was happening to a random child vampire somewhere. So, Brie Tanner was a huge disappointment. Would you say the same thing about Midnight Sun?
See, if you're reading it for the first time, then I would recommend that you read Twilight and Midnight Sun together. Like you read
Yeah.
Twilight first, you read Midnight Sun, so it helps you understand the characters better.
Yeah.
And I would definitely recommend it, yeah. If you've never read Twilight, if you've never read the entire series, then you would need to read it. Because an entire generation has read that series and it's inspired so many new things. It's not heavy reading and it doesn't pretend to be classic literature.
Hmm.
It's an entertainer and it's a feel good book, and that's what it is all about. So I would definitely recommend it, and I would say that you read Midnight Sun with Twilight. Side by side would be great, but after you finish one book, it would help you get a better perspective about it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Rushir. I would also be like, read Twilight, read Midnight Sun, then go to the other books, So if you read them side by side, you get a better perspective or a better idea of the story. So that would be great. I would not say don't read it. But if like somebody who's read the Twilight series asked me that do I need to go right now and buy the book, I would be like, just wait a little bit. The Kindle price will come down. You can buy it then and read it. So it's not like you go rushing and spend a huge amount on bomb on it, but you can wait and the price will come down on at least the e-readers and all. So buy it there.
Yeah.
That would be my take on that.
Okay. So, what are the books that you'd recommend? What is your current read or something that that has stayed with you apart from Midnight Sun? A completely different book that you'd like to recommend people who are watching this.
So, like I said, I have read a lot of Indian authors in the past few years, and I don't call it mythology; it's Indian history. I really believe that these things happen. So we were, told very. We were told stories with like blinkers on. So this is good and this is bad, right? So this guy was good, this guy was bad, and he did this, so he got punished. But once I started reading different authors, and I read them from the point of view of the antagonist. I really enjoyed it because in this world that we live, there's nothing known as good and bad. It's all gray. So I would really recommend Asura by Anand Neelkantan. It's his take on Ravan and how he speaks about him not being a bad guy. Then after that, Ajaya, because that speaks of Duryodhan. Both are by Anand Neelkantan, and it gave me a very different perspective about these people. And he's actually researched a lot. So every state has its own Mahabharata, has its own Ramayana, and every state has its own story to tell. So I feel we should read those versions too to get a better idea of what our history has been like and what good these people have done. So history is written by the winner, right? So we should read it from the other person's point of view too. And it's very interesting. That's what I would recommend for sure.
Yeah. So for me, because we are talking of vampires and stuff, and if somebody likes horror with a bit of history thrown in, I would go for Elizabeth Kostova's The Historian. It is my favorite book. It is like I love that book. I love that book. It's like I don't get scared easily while reading stuff and all, but
Yeah.
that book gave me goosebumps. I think I did look for, the Count Dracula if he's following me after I finished the book when it decided that this is also a good choice. So
Oh
I
God.
did turn
It
around and
was
look for
so
him.
unexpected. I mean, it's a fat book, but the twists are so sharp, and you're like, okay, I cannot read this with the lights off.
And no, and for all of us Indian readers, we know a lot of British literature, we know a lot of American literature, but somebody talking of Eastern Europe, like even visiting Eastern Europe has come into trend now. But otherwise, nobody would even think of visiting Eastern Europe. And since the day I've read that book, now that is all I've ever. That is the only place I want to go. I don't care if I don't go anywhere else beside one other place. But I'm like, I have to go here. And I told my husband that I said, this is where I want to go because this is where Wild the Impaler was. And he looked at me and he gave that look is quite common. You've gone crazy again. So, but I really want to visit just because I read this book and it's an amazing, amazing book. It is totally, the way it is brilliant.
Yeah.
So I love that book.
There's so much of depth in the research, and yes, Eastern Europe is my destination, go-to destination, for the very reason that okay, I really need to go here and see Count Dracula's castle and probably look around if he is following me, and that is because of this book. So there's that. I think I'd like to recommend something, and I'll show you the book as well. It's Spinning Silver, if you guys can see that. Um, it's by Naomi Novik, and it's not on vampires. It's a proper fairy tale. Um, Good versus evil. It's just and it's based in Eastern Europe, so it's based on Polish folk tales. And like there are so many new things here. We all have sort of read like folk tales from the UK or the normal ones that we read. This is very unusual because of the way it deals with things. It's like reading sort of medieval era book, but with a fairy tale twist in it, and it's very feel good. So it's definitely something I want to revisit. I read it probably. I finished it last month, and I'll revisit it probably in a couple of months because it's really uplifting in that sense.
I haven't heard of it, so I'm definitely going to give it a go.
No, you should. I think even your kids might like this. If I think it's for teens. I think it's young adult. But they like it, yeah. And you should, because it's not vampires. It's like Ice King versus Fire King, and everybody's fighting, and kingdoms are at stake, and yeah, and it has a very strong feminist angle. So
Right now, my kids have not progressed beyond Goodnight Tales for Rebel Girls. That's what they like reading right now.
no, you can read this and probably then tell them. So yeah, I think that brings us to the end of Midnight Suns discussion. And I think it was
Sorry.
mad fun. I was looking forward to it. Sorry?
I said sorry, I got busy finding the book on my Kindle. I was like, let me just get the sample.
No, absolutely, and it's worth it. I spent quite something on the physical copy because it just felt like I didn't want to be reading it on a Kindle. Some books are too special, and the day I finished it, I hugged it and I slept. Like I loved it that much. Yeah.
So I have a copy of some of my favorite books, but I think they'll throw me out of the house if I bought any. Though I'm still buying, but still, if I got more physical books, they'll just chuck me out of the house and say bye bye.
Gunjan, you're a mom. Can you please talk to my mom and tell her not to throw me out of the house for buying books?
Imagine now for a painting book related thing. I'm very sure you're definitely going to throw me out of the house because I have
Yes.
things lying everywhere.
Yeah. No, I think what's your handle? We'll follow you. You should be posting all these art related stuff, and we'll have a look at them.
Yeah, let's see the Twilight one here now and then I can get
Please show. Yeah.
that's the one.
Wow.
Edward and Rose.
That's
Wow.
really pretty. That
That
one is
goes
really.
so well with the theme of Twilight.
So the book stays with you afterwards also. I really feel that about many books. There are things which remain in your head long after you finish reading the book, the series, years after.
So I think so spinning silver will really affect
Even
you
when
that
you
way, and I can't wait to see what you will paint after reading this one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely going to go through it. Because, there are some books in which I just want to put it down on canvas. Like Downton Abbey is the most picturesque series, and the books are so amazing. The book is so amazing that I really had to paint that. And Twilight is something that I've been reading since my early 20s. So it was so much fun. In fact, I have a fun anecdote to share with you guys. I had my viva of my final year, and I was sitting with I don't remember which book. The night before that, instead of studying, I'm sitting and reading one of the Twilight series books. It's that bad.
okay, so
That's
I never
awesome.
admitted it. I actually took bunk the office to finish the historian. I was reading it the whole night, and then I called in and told office that I'm not feeling well because obviously you have not slept the entire night. And I told them, and that was like I just kept reading. I was like, if I stop reading, I can't do anything till I finish this book. Like I was not hungry. I did not want to eat. I just wanted to read the book and finish it. I was that obsessed with that thing. And I've done it for
I'm
Harry
like
Potter too.
breaking.
I've taken
I'm trying for Harry
the
Potter.
last,
For my exams, I would read Harry Potter and go for the Bible. My room read. I was in hostel at that time. And actually, my post exam gift used to be that book, supposedly. So after I finished an exam, I get a book. That's been a childhood trend for me. My mother used to give me a book after every exam. So, but it so happened when mom is not around and you have a Viva coming up, you pick up the book and you read it before the Viva. My roommates actually thought that I'd gone crazy. Absolutely. They were ready to throw me out of the room.
no, so I the last Harry Potter came when I just got engaged. So my now husband then fiance, I made him take leave. I took leave, requested the warden of the hostel to get the gates open early because it was a working women's hostel and we had very strict timings and everything. And went out and got my book and then just sat and read the whole book in one day. I was like, my husband was with me all the time, and he's like, he has pictures of me standing in that mile long queue to get the book. So he's like, I just want to tell everyone how crazy you are. And then the whole day he just saw me reading till I finished the book.
That is so cool. I did that for Breaking Dawn. I did not eat. I bunked college. I just stayed in bed, not eating, not drinking water, like dehydrated. And I was like, I need to finish Breaking Dawn because like, khatam karo, jaldi khatam karo. I want to see what happens. And I finished it in 2 days. Like that was me and Breaking Dawn. Like it.
Yeah, I think we all have book stories like this. I think we have all bunked college, even bunked office, missed work, everything just to finish a book.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think we should. And Ruchira, I look forward to more of your art. I really want to look at more of it. And Gunjan, you need to give me more recommendations on and share your cool stories on how you bunked office. Wow, my colleagues must be watching this and they'll be like, okay, we're gonna tell boss.
No, I was really bad, but now I don't have to bunk office or do anything. I can just read.
Oh,
I just tell them,
that,
don't disturb me, otherwise I'll bite.
that's super.
My kids get very bugged because they tell me that you're reading all the time. We don't have time for us. I'm like, listen, this is my me time. So keep away. If you want me to be a sane mother, then this is the time to give me. Otherwise, my sanity is questionable after this.
Wow, that is so cool. I mean, you guys, like, you two are moms. I'm telling you, you guys should talk to my mom because every time I buy a book, she gives me a death stare, and I am like, okay, I am so scared now. I shouldn't read this book also. Like, it's a major thing. I think everyone has that thing, but when a mom talks to a mom, it works.
Well, she should meet my mother because my mother would gift me books. A book was a reward for everything, for good marks after an exam, summer holidays. My mother was thrilled that I would read. So she would always gift me books.
So when I started my blog, my YouTube channel for books, so I'm a journalist, and of course, reading has been a part of my life for a long time. And when I started my video blog on YouTube about about books, that was the only time when my mom said, "Oh, finally, you've done something productive with this." And it was like a validation for me that okay, this channel and everything. And after that day, she's been encouraging me a little, which is like 6 months ago. So that's been my redemption for buying.
Okay, so now my mom also is not very happy. So right now I have a whole box full of books lying hidden at my neighbor's place, and I'm getting two, three at a time, sneaking them into my house. See, I'm doing that at this age also. I'll have to admit the truth. So I'm sneaking it quietly into my house, two, three books at a time, because there's this thing going on WhatsApp. They made it a group for different booksellers where they're selling second-hand books, and some of them are in really good condition. And I, as usual, got one whole box and still more to come. So they're hidden at my neighbor's place. I go quietly, smuggle in two, three, then quietly hide them in the different cabinets that I can find space in, and then I sit quietly because they are like, you will get white ants in the house. There are so many books. The other thing is, my mother thinks that because I read so much, I'm very antisocial, but I can't help it if people are better in books and not in real life. It's not my fault at all. They're just seem better in books. So she's, as a child, she's been working to get me out of the house and meet people. So I hide a Kindle in my phone. Also, there's a Kindle app, and sometimes at parties also I quietly take it out and go into a corner and start reading. When it gets boring, you have to have something now to do when it gets boring. So.
Yeah, I feel handicapped without getting, like, when I get out of the house, I need a Kindle or a book in my bag, because otherwise I feel handicapped. I just feel like something is missing. Okay, if I'm wearing a dress and my dupatta is missing, it's that feeling.
I read in between patients also. That's how bad it is. My Kindle is always there in my bag, and if I have 5 minutes in between for appointments, I will read it that time.
Wow. My husband's friend call it. They call my Kindle my Kavach and Kundal. Like they're like, she's like Karan. She cannot be without it ever, without a book. So one of his colleagues' wife also commented that even to parties she carries a book. So I do, because I don't know. The Bombay has a lot of traffic. What will I do during the signal breaks and everything? So you
Same.
read.
That's my phobia, getting stuck in traffic with my book.
That's scary. That's actually a scary thought, that you have time on your hand and you don't have a book. That's the scariest thing possible.
Like imagine, so Gunjan lives in Ghatkopar, right? So if I have to visit her, I have to go through JVLR, which is always in traffic. Like imagine me not having a book during that time. That would be a nightmare.
In Bombay, anyhow, the traffic is like bad. I think I read more when I used to work, because I used to travel so much that I used to get a time to read around. And because everywhere is clogged, it's like, and that JVLR, I know, it's like I used to work at Goregaon at one point of time, and it's horrible. No, better to have a book and be happy.
But you need books to deal with you need books to deal with people. I mean, I need a book to get over things also. So after I've come back from a party, I need a book to, feel like I'm myself once again.
No, I feel you. Absolutely.
It's my form of meditation. Like I've seen people praying and meditating and doing so many other things. So I just tell them, like, listen, you know what? You don't all need to have the same way to achieve calmness. This is my way of meditation. So let me be.
Yeah.
That's what I've become.
Totally agree with you. I can't meditate. So for me, book is my form of meditation, because it just takes everything, every worry for me that I have, or good, bad, ugly, everything, and I'm just living something else entirely. And that's more thrilling an experience than anything else, I feel.
In Edward's words, you're my personal brand of heroin. That's what it is.
This is
Reading.
perfect. This is perfect.
Yeah, so I just saw this mug on Amazon, which I was ordering, and it says that I am not addicted to books. We are in a committed relationship. So I feel like, and that's what I told my husband when I met him first. I just told him, I said, see, my first love will always be books. It is something that I can't do without. Like even if I'm angry, I go to a bookstore and I feel calmer. And I wish there were bookstores every few minutes from my house. It would be really helpful. But it helps you evolve also, you know.
A very I just remembered something when you said you go to a bookstore and you feel calmer. My daughter had to write a composition in school on their favorite book, and they had to include the five senses in it. So the children actually had to write about the smell of a new book and an old book, and I found that so fascinating because that is something that gives you a certain amount of calmness, right? There is a certain term for it also, the smell of an old book and the smell of a new book. I've forgotten it, but it was so nice that it's I mean children are learning about it too, that how books keep you calm. Even the smell of a book, the feel of the pages, the flipping of it, going into a bookstore, it's very meditative, all of it.
So I just Google it. It's called bibliosmia. That's an interesting one.
Oh, yeah, that's really good. But that's a good thing, you know. Like when we were young, the schools did not put that much emphasis on reading. But now I see the schools are very actively asking parents to read to their kids to inculcate the habit of reading. So
They have
that's a good thing. That's a good change.
they have a literary, I mean, every school year they have a literary week in which they showcase what they've read, and they have a extra reading, and they're always reading, yeah. Whether they like to or not, they have to read, and I think eventually they will get into the habit of it because of this. We were never encouraged so
Exactly.
much. Very few of us when we were in
We
school.
used to
Very
have
few.
those scholastic fairs in school, which I used to always fight with mom that I need a book and can you please buy me one? And it used to be only the scholastic fairs where you got to know about new books and what was happening. And that was my version of heaven, yeah.
So I know, like I remember my aunt was coming from abroad and she asked all of us cousins what we wanted, and everybody said chocolates. Somebody wanted some clothes or something. I was the one who said books, la do, de do books, de do. So for me, it is always like even now, my family gives me Amazon watch just for everything because they know that's when I'll be the
I
happiest.
get Amazon vouchers. That's what I get. Amazon vouchers as gifts. I get.
So I think we should close now. And if there are any sort of closing thoughts on Midnight Sun, on Twilight, on Edward, Bella, anything that you'd like to say, and probably then we'll have Deep come over and say something that he got from this session.
So my closing thoughts would be that for anybody who's been a diehard Twilight fan, this is a book that you must read because first of all, it's your loyalty to the series, and we got a lot of interesting insights into how Edward's mind works. We've always heard from him about what he has read from other people, so it was nice to know how his brain functions, and it was very surprising on how humble he actually was. So that's my take from it, and I think we should read it. And if somebody is reading it for the first time, as I mentioned earlier, I think you should read the series side by side. It will be really interesting. It would have been a lot of fun for me if I had done that initially. If I had read both of their thoughts at the same time, it would have been really nice. But you can't read it as a single book, of course. You have to read the series, and only then will you be able to read this book. So I think the author has been smart. She's revived the interest in her book over here by coming out with it at such a time where nobody, probably the newer generation, doesn't even remember this. So I think it's an interesting read for sure.
I would say don't let the movies color your judgment. Just give the books a chance. And like I always say, read the book, watch the movie later. So if people have not read the book, they should definitely give a chance. And like I said for Midnight Sun, if you have read the series, wait for a month. The prices come down and you can buy it or whatever. But you should do read the book. I'm with Ruchira. Anybody who loves the series needs to read this book.
That's yeah. I think I will agree with you there that anyone who's been a loyal fan of the series should definitely pick this up and wait for it until the prices come down. I think I mean I don't regret reading like downloading it the very day that it released. I don't regret it at all. Although yeah, it was a tad overwritten. That being said, yes, it is something very smart that Stephanie Meyer did. After all this time, the fandom is alive and how. So those are my closing thoughts, and I think I'll just invite Deep to step in and share his thoughts about this.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful discussion, I must say. I actually got a lot of anecdotes because I was listening to you from an outsider's point of view because I haven't read the book. So it made a lot of sense to me because I've seen one or two movies of the Twilight series. I'm sorry, Gunjan, like you suggested, I did not go take the route that you suggested, but I'm definitely going to give it a try. It was very interesting to hear lots of things we spoke about, not just about the book, but also about how you have evolved as a reader, how you read between signals, and how you bunked office for reading, and so on. I just hope your office people are not listening, and a lot of other things as well, like some social stigmas we spoke about, and about, of course, the book where we almost ripped apart Kirsten Stewart. For me, she was this cute little girl in a nice little movie, but I've also started rethinking about Kirsten Stewart's acting abilities. I'll give it a thought for sure. How you talked about the casting of the movie also, where you thought you had different, I think, interesting ideas about who else could have been casted. Some of you said that the casting was okay, and you spoke about Robert Pattinson. I hope he gets well soon because he's being tested positive for corona, as we all know, and he's going to shoot for Batman, of course. So I think it was a great conversation. I think all of you contributed in your own ways. The fact that we had different ideas contributed in more ways than one into this brand new book called Midnight Sun by Stephanie. So with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining in. All your contributions are priceless. People who have read the book might or might not agree, and we'll probably hold a debate on that on our page as well. And people who haven't read the book like me, I am going to definitely give it a try. So thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys. Great talking.